people to sit back and enjoy the show is like Satan telling you the coffee break's over.
All right.
I do not know how to respond.
That was my analogy intro.
Yes, I like it. We should have more analogies because analogies are the best.
The public colonoscopy thing really stood out to me.
Yeah, I was trying to channel John Oliver, but it kind of worked.
Yeah.
Well, he's got a team of writers.
He does.
He
does.
has 8. Yeah.
But this one stressed my my intro writing skills.
Yeah.
Because I'm not good at coming up with cool analogies.
Well, yeah, I was going to say. Well, I mean, you could also work on your accent because we've still got all of the Brits here.
That's
running
right.
Around.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what's new with you?
Not much. Should I? Yeah.
I mean,
no, not a lot.
Okay, you're fine.
My life's been.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot, man.
No,
The
it's
third
okay.
degree over here. Yeah. Kevin, anything new with
Doing
you?
pretty all right. We had a long night last night hanging out.
Yes.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, it's almost true what they say about what I've heard about drinking beer with Brits.
What, they win?
Yeah, I think so. Or it's I've heard someone say that it's like British academics drink more beer than anyone. Although I don't know how the Germans feel about that claim. So
I don't know if I've heard that.
Yeah, I
vaguely remember it once.
I was in rough shape.
I got to go to England many years ago, and I know I disappointed all my friends back in the States because I didn't drink any beer while I was there.
Oh, man.
You should have just complained that it was warm. Just like, that's why.
It's warm, man. What the hell?
I guess for those of you who are not aware, who are the Brits that we're talking about?
Oh, should we do usernames? Christina Oates is here.
Rachel Oates.
Rachel Oates.
Yeah.
Jesus. Christina Rand was here. She left. She'll be on the next episode you see.
Not a Brit.
Yeah, no.
You didn't say Rand, did you?
I think
Rad.
I probably did. Rad.
Okay,
Christina Rad.
You know what? You say names now. I'm going to...
Yeah.
No. Rachel Oates, Shannon Q's not a Brit, but Canada's like
Canadian.
half.
Half British, roughly.
Nova Scotia is a very different accent, though. I'm forgetting. Did I just forget to say Apologia and Rationality Rules?
Yeah.
Although Apologia is, again, Canadian, and so therefore only half Brit. So.
I'm sure they're going to argue with us at some point, but yeah.
I don't know. Hopefully they'll continue to think of us as a smaller show and not watch yet. So.
There you go.
Cool.
No, it's all good. That would be the greatest live.
Yeah, so we did a pre-recording with the Christina Rad yesterday. I'm not
Quasi on it would just be like, how dare you say that? We were
sure when that's going to be uploaded, but I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think that was a lot of fun. Christina's great.
Yeah,
she was fun.
Yeah.
She is quippy. She is a little firebrand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And unapologetic as fuck.
She put me in my place.
Yeah, she definitely did that with me as well. I can't remember how many times I got pwned on air versus off, but
right.
Yeah.
In any case,
let's get into it.
Let's go ahead and head into our first article. What you got for us, Dennis?
Me? Well, I got a headline. Atheist prayers can be denied by House Chaplain, Appeals Court rules. This is from USA Today.
House Chaplain, those are those guys that are unelected government officials that, get
religious
paid by taxpayer dollars.
I was going to say,
Are entirely unneeded?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're just there to do fanfic for a particular group.
I just wanted to make sure that I knew the kind of people we're talking about.
In the federal appeals court Friday, the atheist didn't have a prayer. A U.S. court.
That's so clever.
That's some great editorializing right there.
Wow.
A U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit sided with Father Patrick Conroy, the House chaplain, in ruling that he could not be ordered to allow a self-described atheist to offer a secular prayer to the House of Representatives. The case was brought by Dan Barker, co-president of the Freedom from Religion Foundation and a former minister, against Conroy in his official role as the House chaplain. Barker alleged Conroy improperly rejected a request to have him serve as guest chaplain. The lower court had dismissed Barker's claims that his rights had been violated under the Establishment Clause in the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, which prohibits the establishment of religion by Congress, but offered its own take on the issue.
Wait a second. They've got their own take on the Establishment Clause?
Apparently so. In the decision released Friday, the appeals court three-judge panel sidestepped the legal question of whether Barker was being prevented from offering a prayer because he was an atheist and focused instead on the content of the prayer. Writing for the panel, Judge David S. Tettel said that the court need not decide whether there is a constitutional difference between excluding a would-be prayer giver from the guest chaplain program because he is an atheist and excluding him because he has expressed a desire to deliver a non-religious prayer. Even though we accept as true Barker's allegation that Conroy rejected him because he is an atheist, the House's requirement that prayers must be religious nonetheless precludes Barker from doing the very thing he asks us to order Conroy to allow him to do, deliver a secular prayer.
Well, I mean, that really just means secular invocation. I feel like the word prayer is a little misleading there.
Yeah. What's your source again? USA Today?
This is USA Today.
Yeah.
Okay, so last episode, I did a story provided by a listener, and again, thank you for that, that was trying to say, hey, since secular humanism is kind of sort of technically in only a really legal sense
Considered
a religion. Couldn't they use that as grounds to say, well, yeah, you are infringing on my religion, to let me do a so-called prayer.
They're violating his religious freedom.
His secular humanist
potentially. My
religion.
My understanding was that the ruling that found that secular humanism was found to have an amount of religious designation was somewhat narrow, or I haven't read it. I don't understand because I'm a non-lawyer. But yeah, they could do that. I think it's probably a bad idea if he appeals it to this particular Supreme Court, because that would be not a ruling that we would get correctly from this one. But yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I kind of feel like we shouldn't have any of these things in a legislative session.
Right.
You're there to go to work.
But it's still open for a guest Satanist, I guess.
Yeah, that would be great if the church, if the Satanic Temple could show up and do that. That would
please do.
Mm-hmm.
Please do, not because we agree with the conclusions or your doctrine, but because there's a large number of people that when they hear religious freedom, they mean Christians can do what they want.
And we already know you love to troll them.
Yeah, it's funny. It seems like we get these stories constantly.
Yeah.
It's almost as if they get to just flagrantly break the law all the time in hopes that if it goes up to a higher court, then our current more or less theocratic court is going to give them the precedent.
It's a freaking it's a ratchet. They keep doing this, and if one succeeds, they're a little bit closer to the theocracy they want.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's when you say more or less theocratic court, I think you mean, I know which of those that I opt for. Yeah.
But it's a ratchet. It only goes one way and never slips back.
Yeah, they've been actually in legal parlance, lawyers say one-way ratchet. But mostly,
do they?
Mostly because they don't know what ratchets are. But sorry, Andrew. They've been trying to weaponize the judiciary for a while, and that's a thing. They've succeeded. There's an organization set up specifically to look at that because they know that judges don't get voted out.
Yeah, and again, the fact that we have chaplains at all on the
Right.
spare time is absolutely
fuck that.
ridiculous. You know,
Why am I paying for that?
right? If you want to do an invocation or a prayer for whatever government meeting,
Yeah,
you can volunteer.
Yeah.
No. Well, that, but also in terms of
We don't need to be having you getting a salary just for that.
So I actually take it a step further, which is that after you open a session of the legislature, sure, we can have the Pledge of Allegiance makes sense, but any invocation after that, doesn't really make sense to me. I mean, speeches on or
Right.
from the floor of a house, I don't know.
Yeah, well,
I have very strong feelings about government and
it's a waste of
legislatures.
time,
Yes.
We must.
whether it has any kind of religious overtones or not.
Well, how can you even think of opening the house without being divisive? Come on.
Well, you wait until
Yeah.
after quorum is established, and then you start introducing legislation, and then you get divisive very quickly. So.
Right. So anyway,
Yeah, I don't
so
know.
that was that.
And what state was that in again?
It was, you said Missouri. yeah?
Missouri.
Missouri. Wait, no. No, that was federal appeals
Well,
court
which-
Friday of D.C. Circuit.
Oh. Oh yeah, I guess.
And I think they're talking about the.
Was he trying to? It's
Well-
a shame because I was speaking with someone at the American Atheist Convention about this. I just forgot which
Right.
where it was. So
Well, in any case, it's kind of like a same shit, different day type of scenario.
yeah, yep,
Which is,
Yeah, they're talking the House of Representatives. I think this is actual
yeah.
federal.
Yeah, well,
Federal, yeah.
if it's D.C. Circuit and House of Representatives, that would be my bet. It's some
Yeah.
fucked up shit.
Unfortunately, at this moment, almost the best thing to do is go ahead and talk about it, but not do anything about it.
Yeah,
Because
no, don't send that to the Supreme Court. Don't do it.
That's exactly what they're hoping for.
Dan, I may not be a lawyer. Don't do that. We're not on a first name basis.
Yeah, it kind of seems like that's the best move. Let them break the law, because if we try and hold them accountable,
Yeah,
things might get worse.
they've weaponized the judiciary, and I'm not
Right.
just saying that from hyperbole. That was their goal. They stated that. They've worked at that. They've achieved that. Right? Like, there's also, I think John Oliver did a thing about that as well. Where he was
Yeah.
talking about the Supreme Court nominations. Yeah.
Well, that's a
I mean,
good start to the show.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah,
Well, we
not
all
depressing at all.
We all agree it's bad. American law not going so great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so do you have the? Well,
All right. Yeah, I guess we can go ahead and move on. Okay.
I'm
so-
sure that Kevin has some good news for us, right? Definitely.
Well, it is potentially
Doubtless.
It is potentially good news. Actually.
Really? Ah,
So I have a story out of Uganda.
that is not the sentence I thought would start some good news. But
Yeah. go
Okay.
for it.
Well, we're about to find out. Anyways, so Pentecostal pastor out of Uganda used some fighting words recently when talking to hundreds of congregants about a proposed government policy he believes is threatening thousands of churches' existence.
Huh?
Quote, Satan is fighting the church. The government wants to stop the church from spreading the good news of Christ and will not let that happen. We are ready to sacrifice our lives for the sake of the gospel.
Wow.
So this legislation, if passed by Parliament, the new policy would require that all ministers obtain formal theological training from a recognized institution. And that is apparently seen as a huge threat.
Well, time government does anything for religions, except for say they can break rules, they don't like it.
Well, I mean, yeah, but this feels very hyperbolic.
Yeah.
His
yeah.
mean-
reaction.
Pentecostal pastors tend to be very.
They're the snake handlers, right?
Yeah. No. There's a specific denomination, I forget which handles snakes, but they're the holy rollers.
Right.
And
Right.
they're speaking in tongues. And
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some people that would say they're Pentecostal that don't do that. I'm actually not sure. That may be the defining character.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a scale of how extreme you're.
Yeah.
But in any case, he went on to say that the preaching of the gospel did not require, quote, intelligent people or educated clergy, but rather people called by God to serve.
Any schmuck, basically.
No. Only people called by God to serve.
What that is apparently the only requirement that they believe is necessary.
Right.
So they're admitting you don't have to be smart in order to do this, which, I mean, I totally agree.
Yeah, you don't have to be anything.
I think that's been made very clear throughout history.
Yes.
Yep. I think it's just presentation style and if you can get followers, but that's also the requirement to be a YouTuber. And there's some,
Yep, pretty much.
as a YouTuber, hey, some of them really know stuff, but
Yeah. I just
there's also ones that
who would have thought
Lord.
who would have thought that Ugandan politics would be trying to crack down on. I mean, I honestly,
Right.
I don't keep up with Ugandan politics myself,
well,
so maybe this isn't that big of a surprise to somebody who does follow.
I don't know. I mean, the idea that there's a backlash against sort of people that are I'm representing God and I'm going to do this, that being an opinion that's held by some doesn't necessarily surprise me because,
Yeah.
General Coney of Coney 2012 or whatever it was is a warlord leader of the Lord's Resistance Army in the forests of wherever, Uganda.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what the legal structure in Uganda is in terms of.
Yeah, well, we're generally
Whether it's
not
like a
used to
church or-
hearing any kind of progressive types of positions,
Yeah.
legislation coming out of that part of the world, that's very encouraging.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean,
it's not
hope
always
it's encouraging.
it's not always bad news all over the place.
yeah. Well,
You just have to hunt, for the small little good
Yeah.
good
Well,
stories.
it sounds like they're regulating who can become a religious leader.
Yes, they
Yeah.
are.
And depending on who decides who gets to be one,
yeah.
that could be bad. So
Well,
this could be the beginning of a dystopia. We don't know.
Yeah, well, so what I would say is in terms of legally being recognized or legally not being recognized as a religious leader, it sort of depends on what that means. And I don't know what, if any, legal protections there are for rights of assembly in Uganda. So it might be that if you're not recognized, you can't even gather people over to your house to lead them in prayer or something.
Oh,
In which case,
Well, currently there is really no law of the land at all.
right.
So
okay.
there are a lot
So
of
it could
very
go anywhere.
unscrupulous con artists who are just kind of
Yeah.
making it up as they go and creating their own churches from the
Right.
ground up.
Thank goodness that doesn't happen here.
Yeah, no
I was
kidding.
going to say, yeah, no, I will heal you with this bug spray to the face. That was, actually, I'm not sure whether that was Uganda. I think I'm mixing it up with.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, there's some wild freelancers in various parts of Africa, as it were.
Freelancers.
Freelancers.
Right.
They work
Yeah.
decidedly not for free. Sorry, was there more
I'm
to
going to go on. So
Oh, okay.
I'm not even going to try and pronounce this pastor's name, so I'm just going to call him the pastor. People in government don't understand the word of God, he said. We have a great man in the Bible. We have great men in the Bible, including Jesus, who preached the gospel, but they didn't have a bachelor's degree in theology. It's time we all follow the Bible. Still, the government said the new policy is good for the country since a majority of clerics are taking advantage of existing law to extort money from Ugandans. The current law allows freedom of worship, and individuals can open and operate a church without notifying the government whatsoever. So currently, there is basically no accountability or standards at all.
Right. No oversight.
So there's no way for is it that? Well, here.
Yeah, the new policy seeks to enforce transparency and moderate and monetary accountability in religious and faith-based institutions, officials said.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. We are here to help Ugandans from being exploited by unscrupulous clerics, said a state minister whose name I'm going to butcher.
Right.
Some churches even ask youth for money before they will pray for them to get jobs.
Wow.
So,
God needs your money.
God needs cash.
yeah, I guess they have a bad unemployment problem, and
I was gonna say, God,
someone desperate for a job is turning to this local cleric or pastor or whatever that person is calling themselves, and they're being exploited for prayer. You have to pay to have some hack con man pray for you to get a job. That's amazing.
Right.
Yep.
Extortion.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, yeah, I'm caught in between talking about prosperity gospel. Oh, if you give your money, then then it'll work out for you.
Yeah. It's not like we don't have that here.
Yeah, and suggesting that God get a better accountant, because why do you need all of this cash all of the time, dude? Invest some of it, you'd be fine.
Yeah, this just feels a little bit more direct.
Yeah.
There's
Right.
like
Yeah.
they're literally, they're shaking them down in person as opposed to shaking them down through the television.
Yeah.
Yep. Reminds me of the old Saturday Night Live skit where Charlton Heston appears and goes, Oral, have you got the money?
I don't know that one.
There was
That's a good one,
yeah.
Dennis, I'm sure, but I don't get the reference.
That's
so.
well. It was
too young.
there was a preacher oral. Yeah. He said, if I don't get $1 million by this date, then God will call me home. And people said, okay, so there's a skit with Oral praying, trying to get this thing, and all of a sudden the doors open up and God appears in the form of Charlton Heston with a big light behind him, like a gangster going, Oral, have you got the money? It's really good.
Yeah.
What's funny is that analogy is what started me thinking about God as like, oh no, he's extorting you for.
He is an original gangsta.
Yeah, he's extorting you for the money, much like the pharmaceutical companies.
He's the original G.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally, he's the OG.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Original. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Anyways,
Don Jehovah.
actually,
Well, are they paying for miracles as well, or?
most assuredly.
Right.
If they're paying for a prayer so that they can maybe get a job,
Yeah. I was going to
What,
say.
what was it called historically? That was called paying for...
It was indulgences.
Indulgences.
Yes, indulgences.
That's right.
when
But
you
that was forgiveness from sins.
that was the
yeah.
Catholic Church.
Yeah, that was Catholic Church. So what I was going to say is, they not only is the clergy decidedly not educated, but they're not telling their flock this either, because you can pray for free on your own. You're fine.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that guy better at speaking?
Well,
God?
he just appointed himself to a position of power that is totally unearned and arbitrary, and the fact that he is able to speak in front of people convinces them that he has
Authority.
he is above them, and that he has authority,
Yeah.
and that he can communicate with God more directly than they can.
What I would think, because I'm thinking about this, interestingly, this might be, even if you are a Christian and in favor of there being as many churches as possible, if you think about it and there's a person that doesn't actually know anything about Christianity but wants to make a buck, has seen, one televangelist or just has an idea, and they go off and they start their church, but they're teaching incorrectly, then they're guiding would-be faithful Christians away from, the true church.
So if you are an actual believer, you would be in
Support
favor
this legislation.
You would be in favor of this because you would not want so many false prophets and false
guiding the flock
Right.
astray.
sects basically muddying the water and making your true belief and your true church look bad.
Yeah, I was going to say that, and I've heard lots of people that describe themselves as true believers say that they don't want sects either, or sex for that matter. But yeah,
Sects or sex.
But
Sex
no,
or sex.
man, I mean,
secty sex, never mind.
Yeah.
rationalists could get behind sort of stuff like this because it's like, wow, laws like that might help get rid of this stupid flat earth shit, you know?
Well, I don't know that anyone in the flat Earth movement is saying that they're a preacher, and there are people that believe the Earth is.
They're
flat
on
'cause
YouTube, therefore they're authorities.
I am basically always in favor for more accountability and tighter. Just
like
don't
having.
let people who don't know anything become powerful con artists.
Yeah. I was gonna say.
Especially when you live in a country that is economically hurting and has high unemployment. People are where you have desperate people. You have assholes that are willing to take advantage of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
Which is why in poor countries you have a higher rate of religiosity.
Yep.
Yeah,
What's that say about our country?
There's a correlation there, yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say
I'm kind of implying causation.
Yeah,
where
yeah.
there is
little
more. Yeah,
There's
I'm just
correlation
hoping
for sure.
correlation.
I'm just holding you a little bit accountable for your words.
You know what? I
that you're
appreciate
always
that.
in favor of, yeah. When you said I'm always in favor of accountability, I was gonna say, bold stance, sir.
Thank you.
Because I'm sure Dennis over here is entirely opposed to people being accountable
What?
in general. But
Accountable's good.
yeah, well, that's interesting. Do we know how far it is in the
Back up my
government, or-
statements.
Well, actually, it was going to go through, but it got delayed. The vote on the policy was set in Parliament for March, but was very recently delayed. This was from this article is from April 30th. So I will continue. Meanwhile, the government has previously accused pastors of stage managing miracles and manipulating scriptures to exploit believers. Other problems involve, quote, crimes against humanity in cults,
Wow.
beast worship, blood sacrifices, and witchcraft.
Okay.
A government official said, quote, we will not allow any person to mislead Ugandans in the name of Jesus Christ, and this is the reason we are putting these laws in place.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, it is.
It's
As I said, there are
hard
no
to really.
there really are no
It sounds
regulations.
I
bad.
was gonna say, yeah. I was sort of like, wait, is this regulation gonna work there? I know that our Constitution might get in the way, but cults are bad, man. They'll be.
Cults, crimes against humanity, beast worship, blood sacrifices, and witchcraft. That's
say-
fucking wild. That's some.
Right.
I mean, it's a very.
Well, I mean,
It's an old country with an old and very rich culture.
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
very, very diplomatic way
But-
of saying superstitions still run free. But
Yes,
additionally, if you work against those things, you're getting in the way of Christianity, right? That's the
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, but really,
Crimes
what
against
they're
humanity, blood worship.
it's a big game of no true Scotsman.
yeah.
Because
Yeah.
who knows? Maybe we're talking blood sacrifices. Oh, none of that in the Bible, right?
No, definitely
No.
not. I was
The
actually
central tenet is a
Yeah. So
human sacrifice.
what? This is.
the
I
main
can't take a
monotheistic
side
religions-
on this one.
Yeah,
This
the
one
main-
sounds bad both ways.
Oh,
With the law or without,
Jesus
it's
was
bad.
a blood sacrifice. Yeah.
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 Well, so what I would say is that their approach is interesting because they're regulating what a religion can be rather
Yeah.
than what any organization can do.
Well,
Yeah,
But I can
our
say-
Jesus has the bigger dick, and we'll swing it around. You know? Jeez, man.
I can take the stance that in general I'm opposed to blood sacrifice and crimes against humanity. I feel like it's a bold stance, but I will take it. I'm right
Yeah.
there.
I don't know about beast worship and witchcraft. I don't know.
Yeah, but who knows? That could be mischaracterization. I
was gonna say-
or they could be doing exactly that. Who knows?
Yeah, well, Instagram is going to
don't
become
know.
illegal because there's too many cats, and if they oppose beast worship, then the internet is out.
Well, the cats certainly won't like it. They love
Nope.
being
Well, did we
worshipped.
have a story
And that's
not
what's
that
gonna
long
stop it
ago
from
about the
passing.
rise of witches in popular culture?
Witches.
I thought there was a group of witches that came together to hex Kavanaugh.
The witches of Instagram. That's what it was.
There's the witches of Instagram?
Yeah.
Did I miss
great
did I
name.
forget
Oh, we covered that a couple episodes ago.
That's
Maybe
an awesome
that? I
name.
forget that.
Damn.
it might have been Cogdis.
Oh.
Although, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know,
We
our
definitely
show,
talked about-
Cogdis, same thing.
We definitely talked about witches recently.
Oh, I think we have. And I think
Yeah.
it was since the ones that got together to hex Kavanaugh that were being countered by the prayer team
Yeah.
thing.
How much harm do they do?
Witches
None.
or prayer
I would
teams?
say
None.
witches don't do any
Yeah.
harm at all.
I mean, I think some of them probably litter.
Right. They might scam people out of
Statistically-
money here and there, but
Are you thinking of psychics or, I mean, or
There's probably an
are you thinking
overlap.
of Christians, or are you thinking of like Jewish leaders?
I'm
Muslim
thinking
leaders?
of witches.
Sorry, no, I was just trying to list a bunch of things right after you said they scam people out of money sometimes.
Oh, witches.
Yeah,
I
well,
was
they
talking.
might-
They
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
They
Politicians.
probably pretend to be psychic and
lawyers?
can tell
Yeah.
the future. And
Yeah. An Instagram witch might,
Instagrammers, is that what we're?
I don't know.
might
I'm making shit up. I have no idea.
send you something on Snapchat if you send her some money.
Well, I feel like if they send something in reply, that's not really a scam. That's just,
Yeah. Yeah.
camming. So
I mean, I assume. In any case, so it's really mostly the Pentecostal churches that are getting in a tizzy about this
Uh-huh.
because Roman Catholic Church, Seventh-day Adventist Church, and the Muslim churches in that country, they
are in favor.
they are in favor of this because
Okay.
they traditionally actually have had standards in terms of who they allow to be a representative of them in a church setting.
So will this,
Yeah.
So will this allow, this doesn't, so this law doesn't decree a specific religion.
No.
It's decreeing that individual religions get to choose their,
Well,
They need to have an
Increase their-
actual like.
I think you said degree from a recognized educational.
Yeah, I was going to
Wow.
say accreditation, but that
Yeah.
might have been the wrong word.
something like that.
well,
So-
that'll work for a little while until the absolute kooks get, accreditation.
I was gonna say, not every country is America.
Yeah,
They might
yeah.
show us up.
Yeah, not everyone is
That would
moving.
probably be easy.
Not everyone is
yeah.
trying to move backwards. Some
Yeah.
places
Right.
like Uganda are trying to progress.
Yeah, they do not oppose the vaccines. So
Well, I
good
hope
for
it
them.
works out for them.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Good job, Uganda. I really hope that this goes through.
All right.
Yeah, that is the most.
What's next?
You didn't think there was going to be any good news tonight.
That
Dun, dun,
is
dun.
true because we're doing an episode of TheNonProphets.
Yeah.
So, I mean, statistically, my conclusion was justified. I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. If you disagree, mention it in the live chat or the comments. So
We did the same hand motion at the same time for different reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, and
There we go.
Oh, Dennis, let
Dennis,
let this out. Talk.
Can you? There we go.
There it is. Someone's gonna make a GIF and it'll be great.
yes.
So, do we want to do a shit internet apologist say, or do we want to
think I
do
can-
a question?
I think we can take some shit right here.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Let's
I think
do
we
it.
can take some shit internet apologists say. In this instance, it's some fool that thinks he understands what Jesus went through, or at least what he believes Jesus went through on the cross, because
Okay.
he's subjected to so much persecution and suffering because people are saying that your white supremacist comments make you a white supremacist, fool. So in any case, Representative Steve King said that you guys are going to regret
you
letting
know
me be
what?
the one with the button.
We
Yeah,
should use
Eventually.
that.
I can tell
You
that.
really should.
Not too much. I don't know.
Well, yeah.
So far, I've been relatively judicious in my application of God voice. Yeah, although anytime Dennis speaks, he has a God voice, so we'll see. Representative Steve King said that after facing months of criticism for comments in the New York Times about white supremacy and nationalism, he better understands the persecution that Jesus Christ felt. To be clear, he's referring to the story of Jesus Christ in in normal Christianity, where this person was arrested for talking about religion and then beaten and flayed and pushed through the streets and then slowly killed by means of torture. Mm-hmm. So Steve King, who is decidedly still alive and has not been physically tortured, made the comments in response to a question from the Reverend Pinky Person of the Faith in Christ Fellowship. As far as I'm aware, that is their legal name.
Cool.
Who told King, the Reverend told King during a town hall Tuesday that she was concerned that, quote, Christianity is really being persecuted. And King replied, one, we understand that hashtag not all Christians are white supremacists. Obviously.
Okay, I mean, to be clear, I was poking around the Christian Broadcast Network.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
You never spend any time on
I
that.
know.
Wait, they have their own network?
Yeah, they do.
They had a thing about...
Must be part of that persecution.
It was exactly about persecution. And, I mean, to be fair, globally, Christians do face a lot of persecution.
Well,
they don't here, though.
Yeah, no, they don't.
Yeah.
It's legal. Like, you're so persecuted because sometimes some of you aren't super loud. Cool. Tell that to Christians living in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, Muslim majority countries especially are, they persecute Christians quite a bit. But
I was gonna say,
we are not a Muslim majority country.
Not even close. And
Christians face no persecution here. None whatsoever.
Right.
They get criticized for being assholes.
Yes, they do.
That is their persecution.
when they're assholes, they get criticized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Steve King, which is, I mean, he's always an asshole.
Yeah, but he's not being criticized because he's a Christian. He's being criticized because he said some shit about white supremacy and nationalism and like, ooh, when a group of people has done the most work, shouldn't we all think of humans in terms of their race? In decidedly paraphrasing from me. But in any case, the statement that he made in response to Reverend Pinky Person, I don't know what that Reverend's parents were thinking. He said, quote, "When I have to step down to the floor of the House of Representatives and look up at those 400 and some accusers, you know we just passed through Easter and Christ's Passion, and I have better insight into what he went through for us, partly because of that experience." King told about 30 attendees at the town hall in West Iowa Tech Community College.
Way to trivialize your Savior's experiences.
Yeah. Well, that and I was going to say, does he not know how many members of the House there are? Like,
Probably
sure,
not.
What
common
a
person.
self-centered...
Well, he's a
dick.
member.
It's all about him.
Yeah.
It is all about him.
Yep. I mean, that's how being persecuted or saying that you're being persecuted works, because there's that.
People say mean things about you, and it's like being nailed up to a piece of wood.
This is worse than sticks and stones.
Yeah, it's like when, not that long ago when Trump was at that Boy Scout jamboree, and he's like saying that he was the most persecuted, persecuted is probably the wrong word.
He said the president that's been treated the worst ever in history.
Yeah.
He doesn't know the word persecuted. It's fine.
Right.
He's been treated worse than any president ever.
Yeah.
And he's just bitching and moaning about how the media is saying accurate things about him.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I mean, we already knew he had no knowledge of history when he asked why the Civil War happened on record in front of a camera before being elected.
And Steve King is doing the exact same thing here, except he's equating himself to Jesus. So it's actually worse. Good job, Steve.
Yeah.
Well done.
You actually trumped Trump in this
I didn't think
instance.
So I didn't think that in this episode we were going to get good news or come to the defense of the way that Christians think about Christ. So a very special episode of the Non-Prophets. So this article is from MSN is saying that he's referring to his fellow members of the U.S. House as his accusers. They condemned him, which, sort of kudos, and they stripped him of his committee assignments and all these things, which...
Good.
Yeah, might not sound like a lot, but it basically means he doesn't have real significant influence over legislation.
You mean there was accountability?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you in favor of that?
I am, actually. Yeah.
Really? Bold?
I thought I made that clear.
Well, I think you should restate your
Okay.
opinion. That's fine.
Consequences.
You never listen to me,
Consequences.
Jamie.
Well, you know what? I watched the episodes back and I listened then.
Okay.
because I can't interrupt. Yeah, it's yeah, I. Okay,
So
yeah,
this is
sorry.
a little bit of a segue, but this reminds me of when I was scrolling through looking for stories this morning. I just busted out laughing because I found a story about a guy who is literally dragging a cross across the country.
Oh, sure.
Oh,
Those
wait.
things happen.
Is this the guy that's been doing it for years? Because there's a person that does it with a little wheel that's tried to take it all the way around the world.
Yeah, I think it's probably the same guy.
Yeah.
But right now he decided, I'm going to take my longest journey ever and I'm going to go across the country all the way to the Grand Canyon. He's pulling a Forrest Gump, I think. Is basically what he's doing.
Right.
I don't know. I saw the picture and I saw this jackass dragging across down the highway. Just
Right.
why?
Get
I
a
mean,
job, hippie.
I feel like it's really more about self-aggrandizement than look at how special I am. I am literally taking up, it is literally my cross to bear. And I am so much more holier than thou.
And look, I'm doing this without any Roman soldiers making me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that
Jesus
guy-
would look at that and go, what the
What is this guy doing?
you idiot?
I feel like it's actually somewhat trivializing
yeah.
the whole crucifixion story.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he can put it down anytime he wants.
Yeah, he gets
Yeah.
tired, he can just set it down, and it's on wheels
Yep.
again, so he's not actually dragging it.
Yeah. Or is it, if it's the same person that they showed me a video about when I was in Catholic high school, it is. And if it is that same guy, he's been doing it for years. And like across the border between Ireland and Northern Ireland in the 70s when they're terrorists
Wow.
shooting at each other and shit.
Well, you know what?
It's like,
Actually,
I'm a Christian. I'm going to keep going.
the
And they
picture that
didn't
I
shoot
saw, I couldn't see. I couldn't see like the bottom, so it might not have had wheels. But I imagine if
Still.
he's dragging it across country, it's going to wear away down to nothing. So he's got to have wheels on it.
I don't know. Maybe that's when God has told him he's done.
So really, he's toting it.
He's trying to
Yeah.
scrape little bits
Yeah.
of the cross across. So to be clear, it's not something that he invented out of whole cloth. There's some passage in the New Testament that says, bear my cross with you, something blah, blah.
Ah, right.
So
Okay.
he took it literally because
Right.
He was
Why
probably
not?
he was probably between jobs and like, you know what?
he's like, I'll get paid for
This
this,
is
right?
what I'm gonna do.
Yeah. Well, so
Yeah,
just-
weird sidebar, but
Weird-
it is
It is a weird sidebar, but I'd like to say that it's not just one offhand comment from Representative King. If you heard of this story before, you know this. He's been saying shit like this for a long time. He's compared immigrants to livestock. I mean, he put the Confederate flag on his desks and said, "quote, in terms of talking about America and in the context of immigration, he has said, quote, we can't restore our civilization with somebody else's babies, end quote.
yeah.
Holy shit.
And is proud of the, quote, strong Christian ethic, end quote, in Iowa's 4th District, which is, he's also said that, that's right, this is a Christian nation, our babies, white people, hooray. I'm sure he expresses his opinion in a different way, but yeah.
Yeah,
Just in case
he's-
you thought
he's
this
basically-
was good news,
Yeah.
or that we were
Right.
get away with being happy, doom.
No, he's definitely said that essentially white culture, which he equates to American culture as exclusively white, is
Yeah.
the superior culture.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's one of these things where it's only white power, like it's only far right racist groups in America equate all of Europe to being the same. It's
Yeah.
very much like if our culture had like a more sophisticated view of other countries, they'd be like, oh, okay, well,
That would help.
I mean, obviously there's a difference between Germany and France, but no, it's all white people to them. It's almost like, sure, white power groups are, not sure, white power groups are racist as fuck. It's in the name, but they also don't respect the self-defined differences between like different European cultures, which
Right.
doesn't get brought up because it's not significant in terms of their hate crimes. So,
Indeed.
anyway,
Okay, well, I think it is time for the question.
Oh, my question. I do have a question.
Okay.
What's your question, Dennis?
It's almost like I knew that already.
Okay, there's supposed to be this God character, right? Mm-hmm. And there's supposed to be
Yes.
this Satan character.
I'm on board so far.
All right, I understand what you're
I
saying.
get
and
this
they're in
hypothetical.
conflict, right?
I
and
have
they're
heard
fighting
that.
over souls or something, right? And it's just this God has a plan, right? And so you would think that Satan would want to wreck the plan, right? And the plans, it's not like Satan doesn't know the plan. It's written in a big book.
Yeah,
You know,
True.
And maybe he'll burst into flame if he reads it, but I'm sure he can hire some others to read it for him and give him the gist.
He could definitely outsource it.
Yeah.
I've heard he's all about the flame, though.
Yeah, and so all he has to do to defeat the God's plans is do nothing. I mean, if he doesn't do his part of the plan, then the plan doesn't go. If he doesn't create an antichrist, there's no Armageddon.
True.
If he, all he has to do is sit on his thumbs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a. Are you asking whether there's a collusion between God and the devil?
It sure seems that way. It's like the devil runs the prison, and
like if
he's working for God. So
if I know that I'm going to be playing chess against a supercomputer that is so advanced that it is as close to omnipotent as is realistically possible
In terms of chess.
I can choose to flip the table over. I don't have to play it.
that's right.
That's true. And if there's no time constraints, you can just sit there and not move, and then you don't lose.
Yeah.
The game never ends.
That's right. So yeah,
Fuck you, supercomputer.
the Satan character could easily trash the God's plans.
Yeah. I was gonna say.
I mean-
Deep Blue's got nothing on Kevin. So
Yeah.
Does an omnipotent thing or non-thing even need a plan necessarily?
That's a good question.
If you know everything that ever is or could be, you don't have to make a plan.
well, if you have free will, you can choose.
Now we're
Given
getting
that-
into
Am I off base here?
No, you're not.
No, you're not. You're not.
But I was adding to that, if the omnipotent thing is capable of affecting, like, if I do this, I know what all of the results will be.
Okay.
versus-
So
Well, the
that's
problem
actually a good
is,
point.
I mean, if the God, issues a prophecy, it's going to happen, right? That's at least that's what the Christians think. So it's like, so if the God says, okay, you're going to create an antichrist, then I guess Satan has to create an antichrist.
Well,
He has
that's an
no
interesting-
free will to do otherwise.
It's an interesting question. It's one, I don't believe any of this fucking
No, of
exists.
course not.
But two,
Disclaimer: we don't believe any of this shit.
Yeah, in this theology, are they saying that prophecy comes to pass because it is prophecy, or God makes prophecy because he knows what's going to come to pass?
Well,
Is he
look
telling
at
the
it.
future
Here-
or setting the future?
You want to hear my favorite thought
That
experiment?
sounds like the Euthyphro again.
Yeah, but with prophecy.
Want to hear my
morality.
favorite thought experiment here
Yeah,
about that?
Thought experiment about that.
The God could, if it so decided, come down and whisper into your ear a running commentary of everything you're going to do. From moment to moment, you're going to sit in that chair. You're going to eat that pizza. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. And you will quickly discover
Stop it, God.
that no amount of free will that you bring to bear
It's gonna.
will allow you to do anything other than what the God says, because the God can't be wrong.
But again, is that you're doing it because he's saying it, or is he saying it because he knows you're going to make that choice?
You tell me.
I
There's no
don't
way to
believe
tell.
this is true,
All the God says you're going to sit in that chair. Well, you find yourself in that chair. I don't know how it happened. Maybe you second guessed yourself into sitting into the chair, but somehow you're there. And what that does is it shows you that you're nothing but a puppet.
Yeah.
So
Well-
the free will discussion.
I mean, if God created the universe,
that
no.
that cosmic skeptic and rationality rules and Matt Dillahunty had on the last AXP episode.
Yeah.
Totally went over my head.
Oh, yeah?
That was, oh, damn it. That was so good. But I guess, I mean, does Satan, so I think we are all.
Well, they say they've given humans free will, but we don't know about angels.
Yeah, what about Satan?
Well,
does Satan have free will?
Yeah, we don't know.
In which case, if Satan does not have free will, can we even reasonably call him the bad guy?
Well, he's just God's robot at that point.
If we're going based on what happens in the Bible, he's obviously not the bad guy. But
Yeah.
But if he doesn't have free will, then he literally can't be the bad guy.
Right.
Well, I mean, so this gets into with free will. Can you hold a being accountable? Can you hold a being accountable if it doesn't have choice?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
And I think it depends on what being held accountable or issuing justice is about.
yeah.
But if it's
The
restorative,
Christians say
reparative,
they don't want to characterize God as judging a robot. You know, if people don't have free will, then God is judging a robot.
Yeah.
Right.
This is why
They don't want that. No, you got to have free will so that your sins and your actions are tied to you.
Yeah, like I get angry at my computer when it screws up, but I'm not judging it, and I'm really more projecting onto it because I'm a flawed human being.
Yeah.
This is probably this level of intricacy is probably why. In fact, I think is demonstrably why Islamic extremists have an easier time recruiting from Christianity, because it's like, nope, all of that complication, all of that 3 = 1, defying logic and math and identity, out the window. One God, you do what he says. Yes, he has created some people knowing they're going to hell. Your job is to obey him, period, end of sentence. It's like, wow, that theology cuts right through all of the like, oh, do we have free will, whatever. It's like, he knows what you're going to do. Try to do the right thing. Or he's going to fuck you up, and he knows whether he is.
Well, I guess,
but it's much more interesting
point
to talk about
that I was going to make is I get angry at a machine because I'm projecting onto it because I'm I am just a fallible, flawed human being. So if God judges and gets angry at us, doesn't that mean that he, by definition, has to also be flawed?
You would think.
Well, you could say that, or you could say...
Because it doesn't make any sense otherwise.
Right. He knows what we're going to do.
I mean, to play Angel's Advocate
He's
here,
always known what we were going to do.
Yeah, to play Jesus' Advocate here. So, no, it's that your idea of what morality is wrong and God is right. I mean, that would be an apologetic for that.
Yeah, that would be the apologetic.
Would be like, oh, isn't that fucked up? Nope, whatever God says is good, is one way to go with that.
Ugh.
You just don't understand that genocide is good.
I hate these people.
Hey, what do you mean, these people? Here we this is going to just keep going now.
What do you mean, you people?
Unreasonable people.
Yeah.
People you can't reason with.
I mean, you can. They're just coming from a very different
I don't know.
epistemology and belief set.
I don't know if I buy that.
I mean, I know that I don't, but
yeah,
for different reasons.
Okay, go ahead and go ahead and say it over again.
So because you were saying if God is judging us and it's a world where he created us and knew what we were going to do and is going to say, oh, okay, you didn't do what is good, right? So for example, you've been given over to a reprobate mind. You're not one of God's elect. You're going to hell. God knows it, etc. And you've said, oh, well, isn't that wrong of God to judge a machine? And you could say, no. Like, it's not wrong. God has ultimate authority to judge human beings.
Isn't that special pleading?
No, because it's not applying the same rule to everything and making an exception. It's just, I would say, just not justified by anything. It's not even a logical claim. It's just an assertion of authority.
You made a device deliberately to fail, and then you judge it and you send it to punishment. Interesting.
Yeah. So I think in terms of the word judgment, you can just say that it's less about how God would feel necessarily.
Yeah, I
if you're
suppose
trying
we
to understand
could
It's
get
just
into
that-
a semantic tap dance.
Yes.
I mean,
I
hey,
suppose.
I got my shoes on.
You
so-
are doing the apologetics
Yeah, Jesus advocate. I got you.
advocate. So
Boom.
No, I don't want to do it.
The only thing I need is
No.
Matt to just burst out from under
Yeah,
the table.
yeah,
You are
I'm
wrong about reprobate minds.
I'm an inferior debater and philosophizer.
Yes.
That- and-
Face to face, I fail.
Hey, it's all practice, and I'm pulling up new things randomly. That and you were just answering Dennis's questions.
Yeah.
I was prepared.
Actually, I was
And the
also,
question expanded into a lot of different.
I was
Yeah.
also kind of operating under the not having free will.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Satan's a robot.
Well, the sort of theological standpoint I'm coming from may be internally consistent. It's just very fucked up based on
Yeah, I think that's what
judgments about morality that don't make any fucking sense.
That's
and
what
also-
tripped me up. I was operating under the standpoint that we are basically being compared to robots because we don't necessarily have free will.
Yeah,
And then you went the apologetics route of
that's okay.
of
basically.
absolutely of assuming or
Yeah. I'll judge those robots.
Yeah, well, I mean,
presuming automatically that we do have free will and
well,
Right.
so not. It's not what I said, but it's what I should have said.
okay.
From the standpoint where we don't have free will, it's sort of, well, God created us knowing this would happen, but he was right to do that. Basically, the apologetic that I'm
Wow.
throwing out here is just like, nuh-uh, God's always right.
It's so.
But with more words.
yeah. It's so.
That sort of cloud the fact that it's just like, nuh-uh, no, Jesus, I win.
Yeah. That's it.
But have you considered Jesus?
Not a very compelling argument.
Nope,
Although
not at all.
I don't know if I can necessarily articulate why. At least at the
Well,
moment.
it's arbitrary.
Yeah.
It's based on nothing. I mean, really,
Yeah.
it's based on nothing and a fucked up usages of like justice and judgment, etc. And so it comes out of left field. But ultimately, it's also based on a complete and utter lack of epistemological evidence or structure.
Yeah, it's just a baseless assertion.
Yeah, but
as a so-called comeback.
yeah.
So
I was providing your air
thank you.
quotes
Air
for you.
quotes.
Yeah, comeback. Yeah. Well, no, I mean, yeah. There's no evidence. Fuck you.
All right.
Okay.
Well, cool.
Your version of Jesus has no moral judgments
I have a story.
defensible. Ooh.
Okay. Yeah, let's hear it.
All right.
Yeah.
This is from.
You just wanted me to stop talking about it.
This is from the Friendly Atheist.
Hey.
That was a good little discussion there.
Yeah.
Thanks for the
Yeah.
question.
So this is from April the 10th. So Missouri bill banning anonymity of atheist plaintiffs in lawsuits passes House. So a bill will paint a giant target on atheists' back for any Christian vigilante who wants to attack them has just passed the Missouri State House. A little background here. Whenever a church-state separation lawsuit lists the plaintiffs, it's not unusual to see initials in place of their real names, if not a pseudonym like Jane Doe. That's for good reason. If their names ever became public, they could be stalked or bullied or worse in their communities, many of which are extremely religious, which is why there are church-state separation problems in the first place. Judges understand this. They may require the plaintiffs to appear before them or use their real names in sealed documents, but they usually allow the people to remain anonymous in the public record if there's a legitimate reason for it. Missouri State Representative Hardy Billington, a Republican Baptist who recently said his goal in office was to stand up for Christian values, wants those atheists to suffer. This is
Damn.
editorializing, but
Okay.
essentially
I was gonna
correct. Billington filed a bill earlier this year, HB 728, that would force adult plaintiffs to use their real names in any cases involving church-state separation, and only in cases involving church-state separation. Apparently, if you sue over a Ten Commandments monument outside of a public school, everyone needs to know your real name. Not so in other kinds of lawsuits.
Yeah, I remember
It's
reading
because,
this. God damn it.
It's because universally Christians are being persecuted. That's why that's happening.
Right.
Because of all the Christians that want to hide their names when they bring lawsuits. That's, yep. Sorry.
So, yeah. There is no benefit to the public here. All Billington is doing is creating a new obstacle to deter atheists from coming forward about potentially illegal issues. Those who still go through with it have to deal with the inevitable Christian backlash. Why are we treating these plaintiffs different from other ones? Why is church-state separation the one issue in which anonymity is not an option? When Eric Wells, the Missouri Assistant State Director for American Atheists, spoke in front of the House Judiciary Committee urging them to reconsider this thoughtless piece of legislation, he offered a long list of atheist plaintiffs who were threatened and faced harassment after bringing forth a lawsuit. In one famous case from 2000, for example, Wells noted that the speculation about their identities was so intense that before the trial, the district court judge issued an unusual order specifically instructing the school district's representatives not to reveal the family's identities to anyone for any reason and threatening anyone who violated the order with contempt. Lawyers from the Freedom from Religious Foundation also testified against the bill, saying it arms bullies with a weapon they can turn against victims, and that it would replace judicial deference with an inflexible rule that puts real people in danger. It's not just atheists at risk here. Billington would be targeting progressive Christians and members of minority faiths as well. And yet on Monday, the Missouri House voted in favor of Bill 10144. It now moves to the Republican-dominated Senate. If this bill passes, people could get killed. That's not hyperbole. Christian threats are very, very real. What's odd is how that doesn't seem to be a concern. Well, this is all editorializing here.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah. I'm stopping now.
Yeah, I was going to say.
This is disgusting.
Yeah.
Yep. It's when you said, it could persecute progressive Christians and members of minority faiths. I was like, yeah, no, he designed it well for his intended purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah. When
what do you do?
When you
Who's
live
being
in
persecuted again?
when you live in a small town and your local courthouse or your local school is flagrantly violating federal law,
Right.
maybe that's probably going to start to get under your skin after a while.
Yeah.
Maybe years and years of seeing, well, just absolute flat out law breaking,
Blatant crap everywhere.
Flagrant, yes.
Yeah, and you feel like
You should
you
do
start
something.
to feel crazy. Like, does no one care? This is why we need atheist communities. This is why
Yeah.
we need to reach out to each other, and
Stand up and be counted.
yes, I'm putting on my Eric hat. I'm really not doing a good job.
Well, no, you're doing well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is why we need the community, and
Each other.
if you don't have a local community, I think if you can reach out to American Atheist, and they have resources for you to find a community near you or to help you build one.
Yeah. Google.
You're not alone.
Right.
Yeah, you're not alone. And you feeling like you're alone and all of us feeling like there is no real community, no real movement behind us is why shit like this is allowed to happen constantly.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
across the country.
Organized. Basically.
You're not alone.
And
That's all I have.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Well, we get that
Felt bad
in
for jumping in. Yeah, that was good.
listener mail,
Yeah.
Thanks. You guys helped me realize that
There's
I'm not alone.
Yeah,
and yeah.
I'm just
That night here, it's the I'm the only atheist in my hometown. No, you're not.
yeah, that's never
Yeah.
the case.
Yeah, if you're the only person in your town, sure.
Sure,
But,
sure. You might have multiple personalities.
Yeah, there might be conditions where that statement is true, but they're extreme little religious communities or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, no.
Be surprised, though.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. Even in small Texas towns, there's a lot of people. Like, doesn't matter how southern your town is. There's people that know that that's.
Apparently, there's like a growing issue of priests and religious figures losing their faith and being atheists and continuing.
Yeah, no, it's the Clergy Project.
Yeah,
absolutely.
If that is you, Google the Clergy Project and get help from the Recovering from Religion Foundation. Mm-hmm. Or if you're experiencing stress and are either a believer or non-believer, etc., recoveringfromreligion.org.
Yeah, there are some horrible, horrific things that are a result of just the internet in general, but as a way to find community for people, that is, well,
you can't
that's a
find each other
double-edged
if you don't
sword.
speak up.
That's a double-edged sword.
It is.
You can be an anti-vaxxer or a flat earther and find community, but you can also be be an atheist and find community.
Yeah.
That's how. Yeah. That's how the non-open majority peoples find each other.
Right.
Yeah. And this is why it's important to be open and not stay in the closet, as it were, and set a good example for your community if it's safe. And for us, obviously we're out, but yeah.
Yep.
If you can safely be out, you should think about doing it and just try and be a good person and try and set a good example.
Yeah.
I mean,
Don't be
I'm
an
not
asshole.
I'm not saying anything new, but I don't know
It's
what
worth
else to
saying
say
it.
because that was a horrible, depressing story, and I feel like I want to counter it with a little bit of hope and optimism.
Right.
Yep. Well.
Yes, getting demoralized is a problem.
That and pay attention to your local politics, right? And
Yeah.
get active there. The American Atheist has resources for that as well. Just get shit done.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you all got?
Well, I guess we can. Jamie, you've got.
I guess that was the entirety of your article?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So, I'm going to try not to hit y'all with too many statistics, but I'm going to fail.
Ooh.
So,
You've got a good bit of statistics.
yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Pew Research.
Blind us with science.
Blinded me with science. So, in Western European countries with church taxes, support for the tradition remains strong, is the headline. It's from Pew Research, and it's from April 30th. I'll read through it relatively quickly, and then we'll editorialize.
Yeah, there's not too
as
much
we
there.
do. Yeah. Though some Europeans are opting out, many view religious institutions as key contributors to the common good. Giving a share of one's income to the church has been a part of European tradition for centuries. Today, several countries continue to collect a, quote, church tax on behalf of officially recognized religious organizations. In some cases, levying the tax on all registered members. These payments add up to billions of euros annually and represent the biggest source of revenue for many religious institutions. But growing members of people have been opting out of the tax by formally deregistering from their churches.
Good.
Perhaps another sign of secularization in the region.
Perhaps.
Or people being
Interesting
thrifty.
theory, Pew Research.
How much you editorialize. Some European advocates for greater distance between church and state argue that church tax systems violate freedom of religion and have called for their abolition.
Yeah.
What Satanists? My editorial, not theirs. This raises a number of questions. Are Europeans rushing away from financially supporting organized religion? Why do many people continue to pay church taxes even though they rarely partake in religious services? Mm-hmm. Are church taxes hastening secularization in the region? To gain insight into these questions, the Pew Research Center sought to measure public attitudes towards church taxes in several Western European countries where such taxes are collected. Researchers posted a few relevant questions to Germans, Swedes, and others. Those questions being, Have you ever paid church taxes? Do you currently pay them? And if you do, how likely are you to consider opting out in the future? These questions were asked of nationally representative groups of respondents by telephone, both cell phones and landlines, in 2017 as part of a broader survey of religion in Western Europe. Vern's going to kill me for the paper sound. But,
I mean, I do it every episode, so.
yeah, but he likes
Actually,
it,
real
so.
quick, I had completely forgotten that you can register or unregister your religious affiliation in parts of the world, Western Europe being one of those.
Yeah.
And we almost had rationality rules on tonight, and he, if I'm not mistaken, is from the UK. And yeah, he could have maybe shed some light on that coming from a personal experience. But yeah, that just seems kind of crazy to me.
Yeah.
That for tax purposes, you register what your faith is, and your
pull it out.
taxes basically
Go to that.
to the church that you're affiliated with.
That, and there's a limit. So not all, some recognized religious institutions can collect money that way. Others not so much.
Really?
Well,
I did not know
They
that.
don't have every single religious organization registered, and they also don't have necessarily, depending, well, I
wonder
don't
how
know
they,
the constitutions of all of these countries.
yeah,
Right.
I wonder how they draw that line.
Yeah, how
As
do
do
they
I.
determine?
Yeah.
That, and I don't know, well, so in Germany in particular, there isn't the freedom of assembly is not defended in the same way here. They have
Yeah.
very strong rules about not being a member of, nationalist, socialist groups, or drawing certain symbols, or flying certain flags,
Yeah, they knew how that went. Yeah.
singing certain songs. I don't know why, they're just very strict about that for some reason.
Yeah, well, I
Don't
just
talk about
from a purely American perspective, it seems so weird to have your religion, something that for a lot of people is a very private, intimate part of their identity, to have that on your tax forms.
Right, have the government interface with that.
Yeah, that's very strange to me.
Yeah. Well, it's also, I second that
It seemed
opinion.
to me, it's like, instead of a tax, it should just be, well, like it is here. You just contribute. You just give money to the church if you want. But sure, they actually tax
I guess
you, which is bizarre.
Here, your local church will emotionally manipulate you into using social pressures and shame, manipulate you into
they emotionally extort money from you.
They will emotionally extort you through various means.
Right.
Yeah,
to give at the very least 10% of your income.
Yeah, in fairness, secular charities do that as well, right? You can't hear the arms of the angels or whatever that song is without thinking of sad kittens, and it's heartbreaking. So
it's just much more rampant and obvious and gross when it comes to churches doing it here.
Yeah, well, I mean, they don't get the money for free. What I will say is they probably would take your money even if they didn't have to, if you're contributing it to religious organizations. But I don't know. I'm not involved in the administration of a church in Denmark, Austria, Switzerland, Germany, Finland, Sweden, or any other European country.
Yeah.
And so, what are these?
So the results of the survey, I didn't.
I went ahead and interjected just because I felt like it.
Well, I'd like to state for the record that I am not opposed to that as a concept that any host can do to another host's story.
Noted.
No, that majorities of the public in 6 Western European countries, and not necessarily the ones and in some of the ones you might think it's not true, say they pay the church tax, right? So in actually the 6 I just listed, in Denmark, Austria, Switzerland, Germany, Finland, and Sweden, a majority, and not close, a solid majority of people currently pay the church tax.
Yeah, the lowest one I see there is like 71%.
I know, 68 is the lowest.
Oh, 68,
so in decreasing order, it is Denmark, Austria, Switzerland, Germany, Finland, Sweden. And Denmark, 80% pay it, and it's
80% pay it, but they don't attend church regularly. Is that
well? So there's the other portion of this, which is that in increasing order of no, that's opt out in future. Sorry, different. No less likely to identify. Oh, it's how they identify and how often they attend services. So in countries where there's a mandatory church tax,
Right.
Small minorities of people say they actually attend church.
Ah,
So it's almost
right.
like, oh, there's a mandatory church tax. I don't have to go, and I have this vague concept of, yeah, the church is good. Definitely take my money.
Right. So it's these people identify as Christian, but
And they don't-
only 30% attend.
Yeah.
80% of it identify and only 30% attend.
Yeah, and
Right,
that's
right.
Austria, and you're reading over my shoulder. That's
Right,
fine.
I am.
That's fine. That's cool. Whatever.
So to be clear, there is a fairly low attendance rate, and yet there is still a fairly high willingness to
Pay the tax?
just to keep paying the
Right.
the tithe, as it were.
Yeah, to pay the tithe tax, whatever you want to call it, and to identify as Christian, right? In all of these countries, a majority of people identify. The lowest,
Sounds like it's a
they're all casual.
traditional thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're all casuals. None of these players are hardcore, man.
Right.
They got no points. They ain't in it. to
Well,
win
I
it.
mean, to be fair, Europe has a much longer, much deeper history than the U.S.
Yes, it does.
and a lot of that history, just by default, the church is heavily ingrained in that.
yeah.
So
I was just trying to read the numbers before I can say.
I think
Sorry.
there's a
No, go for it.
greater appreciation for
Yeah.
history
Yeah.
in a place where there is significantly more of it.
Well, that and
You know.
the culture is different, right? They don't have churches telling people that they're going to go to hell the way that we do here.
Yeah,
I mean,
I would imagine
in precisely
that
the same way.
I would imagine that if you don't opt out and these churches don't basically go bankrupt, they are maintained, and there are a lot of landmarks
Yeah.
Yeah.
all over Europe that are able to stay up.
Yep. I mean, you got to get married somewhere.
Yeah, like Notre Dame. Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you go to Europe and you want to check out the history, you're going to be checking out a lot of churches. Just that's the default.
Castles and churches.
Yep. Those are the ones that
So
get-
I guess if you have a great appreciation for art and culture and history,
yeah, and
you have
architecture.
you have architecture. You have a vested interest in maintaining said architecture.
Yeah. Well,
That would probably, I don't know. For me, I would be conflicted.
so I think
Like
in
all this
principle-
beautiful old architecture is more likely to crumble and go into disrepair if I don't support this
Right.
this faith that I don't believe in and shouldn't believe in.
Well, so in the
Yeah, I don't know. You got
in
to weigh
the
that.
US
because-
Supporting the arts, I guess.
in the U.S., it's actually something that was mentioned in the case that luckily didn't go to the Supreme Court out of New Jersey, where I think it was New Jersey. It was one of those small states up in the Northeast, where there were government funds going to maintain churches that were in active use, because there was a lawsuit
Right.
because there's a fund that was, this church isn't in active use, but it is a historical building, and so even though
Sure.
it was religious, we can maintain it because we maintain historical things because we don't have that much history in the United States, and we want to keep what we do have. And there was the lawsuit of, well, we want that money too, even though we
Right.
actually have congregations doing Jesus stuff in here. And that was the point of contention. It was, no, go bankrupt first and stop doing Jesus stuff, and then you
Yeah,
can have
and
public funds that don't
the
belong
church
to a religion.
the church doesn't have all that much power in these Western European countries either. So
Not as far as I'm aware.
yeah, well,
Yeah,
they
don't know.
they
church
probably
also-
don't. They probably don't see religion as quite so encroaching as we do.
It's because it's not.
Yeah,
They have churches that aren't trying to pass laws as much. And then, so because it's interesting because if you're not attending services, attend services monthly or more, so at least once a month, and that's still an extreme minority in all of these countries. The most frequent ones is in Austria at 30% attend at least once a month.
Wow.
Yeah, so 70% of people in Austria don't attend even once a month. That's your Christmas, Easter, cool, whatever. Yeah, no, I'm a Christian.
Yeah,
and I
the
give them my
casuals,
money.
as you said.
It's the casuals, and it's
Yeah.
sort of like, yeah, no, I know that there's institutions set up to provide charity.
Like you're going because you love your grandma, and your grandma wants to
Yeah.
see you at church.
Well,
Right.
Well, it's that, and at this point, your grandma doesn't go either. I mean,
And they might just like the community. And
Yeah.
You know what? 1 or 2 more generations down the line, yeah, that's going to be the case.
yeah. Well, that and
Absolutely.
the Bible belts in these countries are described as like places where it's, oh yeah, like 13% of people here, go to church all the time and call themselves Christian is considered a Bible belt in these
Right.
Yeah.
Western European countries. Actually, I can't say these specifically because I don't have that statistic.
Also, we're
Perfectly memorized.
we don't live in Western Europe at all. So
Well, yeah, there's that, but we also don't have statistics in front of us beyond the ones that I literally am holding in front of us. So, yeah, but what's interesting is that there's segments of the population that used to pay but stopped. And it's sort of like the highest percentage of those is in Finland, which is 20%, but it's sort of... This isn't religious sociology, the show. Otherwise, this segment would be much longer and recurring.
it's really interesting. So Finland has the largest percentage of people who have stopped essentially tithing.
Yeah, it has the largest
Yeah.
percentage of people that have essentially stopped tithing. There's also percentages of countries of those that pay the tax. How likely are you to opt out in future is another statistic they had. In Finland was actually kind of low on that. So in Finland, 10% of people pay the tax but are likely to opt out. Yeah, but in any case, let's see. There's something else. Yeah, so people in church tax countries are no less or more likely to identify as Christian or attend church services because they looked at, this is the part that expands, so it's new information, so sorry for throwing a bunch of numbers at you without the visuals to help you remember them, but they're in countries with a mandatory church tax, Austria, Finland, Switzerland, Germany, Denmark, Sweden, those ones. Sweden was the lowest with 52%, but those first 4, Austria, Finland, Switzerland, Germany, and Denmark, it's between 65 and 80% of people say, no, I'm a Christian. And then where there's the voluntary church contribution, Portugal, Italy, Spain, it's between 66 and 83%. And where there's no official church tax, countries like Ireland, the United Kingdom, France, and Belgium, and actually Norway as well, it's between 51 and 80% Christian. So, I mean, I have this stereotype and therefore this confirmation bias of, they're like, I'm Christian, but they're casuals, right?
Yeah. I mean, you get a lot of that.
Yeah,
you get a lot of that in the States of the kind of the liberal Christians.
Yeah, it's
where maybe they didn't believe, they didn't really give a damn for basically most all of their life until they had kids, and societally they've been taught that
you have to raise
you
them
have
this way.
you kind of have to raise your kids.
It's not even that. It's
with
just,
some kind of religion. Otherwise, they're not going to have any morality.
well, I mean, I think it probably also gets looser than that, which is not just, you have to do this. It's just, this is how you do it.
That too.
Right? It's just like
it's just the default.
Yeah, it's like, when I, misbehaved, I was put in timeout and told to sit on a stair, so that's what I'll do with my kid, and it goes without thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's
tradition.
And that's why women are targeted very specifically by a lot of churches.
The more active ones,
Yeah. They're like, okay, if you get the moms, if you get the moms, you'll get the entire family.
You'll get the kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
because they're gonna go along with what mom wants because maybe she's gonna be insistent.
Well, that and like particularly if you're thinking about it and they say, yes, I'm a Christian, but I don't attend things regularly, which is all of them basically.
Yeah.
In terms of the statistics, it's not that I go every week and pray is not what they think of as being a Christian. They think of like the tradition. So, I mean, I don't have statistics as far as how many people in these countries get married in a church or do funeral services in a church or have baptisms in a church, these things. But there's something to be said about human cultures having a hello community, let us all gather and celebrate. A person, two people deciding to start a family or just fall in love and live the rest of their lives together, or eventually get a divorce, whatever. Or hey, look, a child is born, that's something significant. Or, oh, shit, someone's dead, that's something significant. There's something to be said about community marking these, life events.
Yeah,
everybody sharing that. Yeah,
and I think that kind of cultural Christianity at least in America has become progressively vague.
Yeah,
which is
awesome.
I would say why it is kind of going off in the spirituality direction more so.
Right.
There's lots of let's get married, but we're going to write our own vows and we're going to do something else, and maybe it's not even in a church. And
Because spiritual, but not religious.
Yeah, because if your beliefs aren't very specifically grounded in this has to be this way, and it's more kind of fuzzy and ambiguous, it's a lot easier to go like, oh well, I'm still kind of a spiritual deist. So I like that is a little more warm and fuzzy, and so you're getting a lot more spiritualism now as hardline religiosity is petering out.
Yeah, you don't have to dislike, little quasi-meaningless superstitions and traditions and practices to recognize that organized religion is BS.
Yeah, and I definitely wouldn't say that spirituality is harmless by any means.
No, it's not.
Because it is usually the backbone of a lot of...
Yeah, it's a
lot of very damaging anti-vaxxers.
Well,
pseudo-medical, pseudo-scientifical bullshit that is just destroying people's lives.
If you don't have a place of sufficient value on
critical
the things
thinking
that you do and the things that you think should be grounded firmly and tested thoroughly in terms of are these things true and do they relate to reality, then I've been trying to remember what the other term is, because there's if you find a tumor, like medically, it's either malignant or it's
benign.
Yeah, no. So those are benign forms of the cancer that is superstition and
it's right.
Yeah,
and I see this as the
cancer
most
good phrase.
I think I think this is the most benign form that I've seen in this level of practice of Christianity. But don't forget that when France started talking about marriage equality, the protests were large and fervent, and they still set cars on fire, as is their way.
Right.
Yeah, make no mistake. Your kooky cousin who isn't. You think their spirituality is harmless. No, it isn't.
Yeah,
it is. Their spirituality is not harmless. It is a gateway to pseudoscientific, pseudo-intellectual, pseudo-medical bullshit that is beginning to do great damage to us societally as a society, as humans, and we need to embrace skepticism. Just because spirituality is a tamer form of religion does not mean that it is
valuable.
Sure, it's the lesser of two evils, but it's still bad. It's still evil.
Yeah.
You know.
lesser of two evils and a false dichotomy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say you don't have to lose tradition for that, right? I don't believe anything about birthday cakes except that they taste good.
Right.
Yeah.
Well said.
Right.
Well, yeah.
I'm not going to give myself too much credit. I just I can't. It's not in me. It's not in me to give myself credit for
then
anything.
leave the evaluation to me.
Okay.
Cha-ching.
Shall I?
All right. Dennis said
Take us
out. Yeah.
All right. Well, that was like kissing Grandma, dry and awkward, but you better pucker up because we'll be back in 2 weeks on the 15th of May for another colonoscopy.
Wait, what just happened?